Thank you so much, Jeannie. And I want to thank my favorite congressman, my favorite blue dog, the man we're so proud to have from Idaho in Washington, Walt Minnick. He's taken the place by storm, but he hasn't changed a bit, and we're hoping that he will stay there for years and years to come. You know, I grew up in this state, campaigning year after year. I don't think I ever saw a Democratic crowd just quite this big. I've met more Democrats in one night than I met in 20 years of campaigning. The only time that we were ever able to draw a crowd anything like this in Kootenai County was every year when we had when we've had the Huckleberry Social, which is an auction where we auction off various huckleberry desserts. And that always struck me as kind of appropriate because huckleberries are in short supply, and Idaho Democrats are used to be a kind of a controlled population like the grizzly bears. Every year the Fish and Game Department went out to see just how many Democrats the land could support. But those times are changing, and the meeting this weekend is a great triumph for Idaho Democrats. It's a great moment for all of us. It is a shot across the bow to Republicans. If we can compete here, we can compete anywhere. I grew up going to, this is my first time on a hay bale actually. I grew up handing out Democratic bumper stickers at county fairs to rednecks with pickup trucks and gun racks. And I tell you, the great thing about being an Idaho Democrat was always you learned about rejection at an early age. It served me well in life, but you can tell that times are changing here. You know, I couldn't be happier about what's going on here. I do want to single out a couple of people. Walt already mentioned them, but the folks who got me into this racket and who made the Democratic Party our family business. My parents, Mary Lou and Scott Reed. My mom was Senate Minority Leader for many, many years, served in the legislature for 12 years. And for those of you from out of town, if you get into Coeur d'Alene, take a look at the beautiful, undeveloped jewel of a hill in the middle of Coeur d'Alene. It's the one that doesn't have a hotel or a golf course on it, and that beautifully preserved natural wonder called Tubbs Hill is the brainchild of a great Democrat named Art Manley, who also brought us to Huckleberry Social, and a great Democrat named Scott Reed. So. Take a look in the casino bookstore. His book about Tubbs Hill may still be available. It was a bestseller here for quite some time. They pinned my diapers with Kennedy buttons. My mom had me out on this, going door to door at the age of 6, handing out literature. There's a couple people here. Sue Flammy is here. She worked with me. We worked on Frank Church's campaign in 1968, doing voter targeting. I was 8. That was a great experience. Idaho gives you that kind of experience. I ran my first losing legislative campaign at the age of 12. By the time I got to Washington, I had more losing experience than a lot of national Democrats. And in those days, I was saying quite a bit. So it's a wonderful state. And, you know, for all of you who've come in from other states, welcome to Idaho. I hope you enjoy your time here, and I want Republicans to be watching, to know that, as Churchill said, we will fight them in the streets, we will fight them in the hills, we will fight them on the beaches of Coeur d'Alene Lake if necessary until we achieve victory. There was a time when a DNC meeting would take place in Idaho only because the chairman was looking for a secure, undisclosed location. You know, it didn't used to be that that people would come to Idaho to see Democrats. My parents used to drive 250 miles to Helena, Montana, just so they could have dinner with some Democratic friends. But you know, this weekend, we made a historic change. This weekend, for the first time, people have crossed state lines to have dinner with us. And Jeannie says, you know, people hear Idaho and they say potatoes. She says my name and they say potatoes. But the truth is, when you work in politics, actually Idaho has quite a reputation. The first congressional district in Idaho has long been known as the nuttiest congressional district in America. We've had some of the all-time greats. Steve Sims, Bill Sally, who had it before Walt beat him, who, for those of you from out of state, he was such a hit in the state legislature that hit the speaker in his own party, threatened to throw him out of a third-story window. We had Helen Chenoweth, who was a congresswoman who was chair of the Black Helicopter Caucus and insisted on being called Congressman because she felt that white men were an endangered species and it was her responsibility to represent them in Washington. And then, of course, the great Larry Craig, who represented that district for many years. And Larry Craig's back in business. He's a lobbyist now. He kind of started a trend. His was the first sex scandal of many among Republicans when he got arrested for solicitation in that airport bathroom, and several Republican sex scandals later, Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina had a fling with a woman from Argentina, and it occurred to me that Larry Craig and Mark Sanford had the same defense, which was that they were both just in it for the frequent flyer miles. You know, I've always referred to Idaho as kind of the Lake Wobegon of American politics, where all the women are strong, the men are good looking, and the politicians are below average. And the only bad thing about Walt getting elected is that he wrecked my joke. Now we actually have some good ones, and I think there's going to be a lot more. You know, for us, for those of us in Idaho's first congressional district, Walt is the end to a long nightmare. Walt Minnick means never having to say you're sorry, you're from Idaho. He's got one of the toughest districts in the country. He's doing a great job, and I'm confident that he's going to win again next year.